Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. We are the Hologrumps. I'm Liam.
And I'm Colin.
And we're here today to review the latest episode of Westworld, Season 3, Episode 2, titled The Winter Line.
But before we do that, if we could get you to like and subscribe to the channel, and as always, just comment below if you have any opinions or if there's anything you'd like us to review or cover.
So, this episode was directed by Richard J. Lewis and written by Matthew Pitts and Lisa Joy. So it has two plots, a B plot and an A plot. We're going to start off with the B plot and then move on to the A plot.
It's B for Bernard.
The Bernard plot. Colin, quickly before we start, we didn't review episode 1. Do you have any thoughts on that before we move on?
Shooty, spy. Oh, great, this guy died. That's my opinion on it. Guy falls in the pool and just... What? How convenient. It's almost as if she set it up perfectly. It was a bad episode. It was bad writing. And we should have all been very worried about this series. But thankfully, the second episode is a mark above it.
Yeah, so make sure... Well, I hope you didn't turn it off right after Colin said that. Because we are making a very positive review for this episode. Because we did really enjoy it. And that's why we're actually making the review. Because we weren't sure after seeing the first episode. But yes... That's a very apt way of putting it, Colin. Okay, so the B plot. We follow the character of Bernard as he returns to Westworld. And he finds Stubbs, confirming the theory that Stubbs was a host all along.
And well, let me tell you something. When I saw this, I was a little bit disappointed. So he was programmed to kill himself when he'd fulfilled all his duties and done all that stuff. And he couldn't even do that. He couldn't succeed at that. I'm surprised he didn't spend the whole episode just trying to off himself constantly.
I suppose because Bernard returned to the park, his core code was no longer valid. Because the initial idea was that he had to get Bernard off the island and keep the host safe. And he succeeded in that until Bernard came back. Just in case anyone was wondering about that.
He seems just a bit, dejected and sad. Sad Stubbs.
Oh, sad Stubbs. So they head to the Mesa storage facility to find Maeve. Only, it turns out her control unit has been taken from her brain. Her brain has been taken. How could they do this?
They're so cruel.
Yes, cruel people. So they go to the labs to find out what's going on. Where's Maeve? And on the way, we see D&D and a CG dragon.
I hope this wasn't a reference to another well-known show, because it looked exactly like Drogon. It was Drogon.
And the graphics on the dragon looked perfect, because of course it's HBO. And I hope they shot this before they filmed season 8 of Game of Thrones. I think if they had have seen that, they mightn't have even bothered to include this reference.
I'd say they did shoot it beforehand, because why would they bother otherwise? Although they are two HBO franchises, and it's always nice to support each other, but it does leave a lot of unanswered questions. Like, who was playing the game? Ed Sheeran?
That is such a great way to link the two worlds together. I love it. Okay, so while plugged into the system, Bernard begins reliving past experiences of season 2, while Stubbs holds off security guards. This scene, it did raise a couple of good points because Stubbs I don't think he killed any of the guards. He was very careful not to harm anyone, which was really nice. It shows the humanity of the character.
Maybe it's in his core programming.
Yeah, we assume so. But that's the big question. Are these people programmed to appear sentient or are they just sentient? But the only problem I had with this scene, I thought it was executed very clunky. It kind of reminded me of A New Hope. You know the scene I'm talking about.
Yeah. He chases after all the stormtroopers, then all the stormtroopers chase after him. But he picked up a battle axe as if their guns were useless against the battle. Oh, he's got a battle axe. Get out of here. And he starts swinging it as he's chasing after them. And I don't know, did he have a limp? Because he seemed like he was running.
It was his
really,
arm.
really slow.
His arm, because remember he got shot by one of the guards in the arm, I think, in that fight scene.
Yes.
It was a little bit clunky, but yeah, it was a minor problem that I had with the episode. But overall, like I said,
nitpicky.
Yeah. So after that, Bernard and Stubbs must leave the island. Bernard freezes Stubbs whilst they're on the beach and gives him a new core program to protect Bernard at all costs. So this I liked this. I thought it made me feel excited for things to come in the season between these two characters if they keep these two characters together.
It sounds like a really good buddy offshoot. Bernard and Stubbs. Bernard and Stubbs. Bernard and Stubbs.
What a load of BS, eh?
Hey, yeah.
B and S. So did you enjoy the Bernard and Stubbs plotline?
Yeah, it was as far as a plot line goes, it was the best written part of the episode. But visually, the A plot line is far better, in my opinion.
So we'll get into that. So we have the A plot line with Maeve and Hector and Sizemore and co. and lots of fun to be had. Maeve awakens in 1940s Italy. Dazed and confused, there is a man speaking German tied to a chair. To her surprise, Hector arrives and saves the day, making their daring and dashing escape. Did this scene kind of remind you of something like an old James Bond film or something like that, or Riley Ace of Spies?
It reminded me a little bit of a video game. I think that's the look they're going for here. These people taking you on this adventure, it was like some sort of Uncharted video game where they're going through this town, they escape on this hot rod car, this amazing car that was just hidden there the whole time.
The thing I did love when they were making their escape, where Maeve had the cyanide pill, and she's like, oh no, I don't have any weapons, how will we get past this Nazi guard? And she just punches him in the eye with the cyanide pill.
As if that would work.
I've never seen this before. It's like the funniest escape thing, and he's like, no, kill her. But no, it was good fun. It was just this daring escape, and I was like, this is more of the whimsical, fantastical fun that we used to have in Westworld season 1.
Season 1 was a lot like this, where anything was possible, but there were dark undertones. Season 2 was just dark undertones, and everything was impossible.
And lots of Evan Rachel Wood. So, Maeve quickly realizes that something is wrong when they board the airplane at the airfield, and Hector treats her like a member of the simulation and doesn't even know who she is from Westworld.
He gives her a different name, doesn't he?
I think he gives her a different name, but I've forgotten the name. I didn't write it down. So Maeve wakes up in the lab after shooting herself and is surprised when her old cohorts, Felix and Sylvester, don't seem to recognize her. She tries to off herself, but is stopped by Lee Sizemore, who is once again alive and kicking.
He got riddled with bullets and he survived. Or did he?
Just has a limp. You know what he... yeah. You know, he reminds me of the character of Dr. Chilton in Hannibal, who gets like all his organs taken out and even gets shot in the head, and all that he has to show for it is he walks with a cane. No, seriously. Yeah, he gets like teeth put inside and stuff that prop his face up, but the only visual thing that we have is he walks with a cane. But anyway, so Maeve is sent back to the World War II scenario because Sizemore has told her that she can be with her daughter again and that she can pass over to the computer-generated world with all the hosts.
If she just tells him where they're located.
So they go on horseback in Warworld to the Forge. And is at this moment where Lee Sizemore tells her that he sacrificed himself because he loved Maeve. And this is where everything falls apart. And they did a good job of introducing all these little elements of confusion into the plot, like having the weird interactions with Sylvester and Felix, and then, of course, having Lee Sizemore even appear.
Did you notice the aspect ratio?
Yeah, and I love that because I think it was episode 9 of Westworld Season 2 when Anthony Hopkins, or Dr. Ford, came back, and he was in this computer-generated world to talk to Bernard. The aspect ratio changed to tell us this isn't the real world. So it's this kind of clever thing that they're doing. They change the aspect ratio.
It's a bit worse when you know about it, though. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, so they can't actually do it from the start because we'll know, of course, that if an episode starts with a weird aspect ratio, it's probably not in the real world. I like it. It's effective. I suppose they have enough confusing timelines going on that they need something like this to add a certain level of coherency to the story. And also, I think Maeve and Bernard's storylines are taking place about 3 months apart in this episode. Because I remember in episode 1, I think they referenced something that's happening in episode 2. But it's in this scene in the Forge with Maeve, through her advanced intelligence, deduces that it's not real. And also the other thing that confirms to us that it is a simulation is when Sizemore begins to break down when he realizes he's a real person, but then just fixes himself. It's established in season 2, however, that whenever they tried to put a human consciousness into a host's body, it would always just break as soon as it discovered it was a host. Whereas Sizemore,
which is why it's actually not in a body; it's just virtual.
Yes, and that was the thing about Ford in season 2. He was a virtual mind because he knew from the experiments on Delos that they couldn't put a human mind into a host body because it just couldn't grasp the nature of its own reality.
So the part about all this, her being trapped inside this virtual world, is how she deconstructed the virtual world. That's the part I enjoyed the most. The asking the two interns what the square root of -1 is, which is of course it's a mathematical paradox and it doesn't work, and obviously the stuff that she does in World War II world as well.
Yeah, like making all of the German soldiers the spy. Oh,
they're all the spy.
I'm the spy.
But I was the spy.
You know what surprised me as well is the fact that Sizemore stuck around for the whole episode, and I think that added a kind of a human connection to Maeve's character, that she always, as opposed to Dolores who goes it alone, Maeve has always built up this band of cohorts between humans and hosts, and I think that's what adds the extra level of warmth and complexity to her character.
And he's kind of a ghost.
I know he's a ghost, yeah.
But like, I mean that in a way that she's keeping him around to a certain degree because he's a ghost of her past, and you know it's akin to someone being followed around by a dead loved one.
Yeah. And but she also empathizes with his condition because he has now been lied to, just like she was, because he's been dumped into this world, programmed to do something. He finds out he's not real, and he has this wake-up call that she had, and we watched her have in season 1. And they have this great chemistry between the two because she's miles ahead of him, and she just brushes off everything like, okay, yep, been there, done that, darling. So she manages to make all of the World War II soldiers start firing at each other, and then, of course, Sizemore gets all the scientists to start having their mathematical quandaries in the lab. And then all of a sudden, the system freezes. And we think Sizemore is also frozen. I assumed he was. And then Maeve goes up to him and is like, damn, I thought I accounted for this. And then he's like, oh no, I've just nearly been killed, or whatever it is. But so this is where she hacks into the system, and then she finds her drone, who's going to be her conduit to escape.
Felt bad for this drone, just saying.
Yeah, so did I. Like, I almost look at this drone as being akin to just an animal at this point.
It was really insulting. Like, she's supposed to be at the forefront of a rebellion, so to speak. And she just killed the robot.
The robot, I suppose, is akin to, like,
it's the
Spanner
fact that it's anthropomorphized.
Yeah, that's what makes it sad.
The fact that it's anthropomorphized.
And the other thing about this robot is we get to see its downfall through its own eyes, which... it was very cleverly shot. That with all these sentient robots out there, I do think of these drones as being kind of like a pet or something like that. It's just a bit
even Caleb
innocent.
Pinkman's friend.
Exactly, yeah, but he is a bit more developed. But anyway, so after the robot gets neutralized and her control unit is recaptured, Maeve awakes in what we assume to be the real world, but things are a bit hazy, and she meets Sarek. Not to be confused with Sarek from Star Trek.
Yes, the Night Fox.
The architect.
Not from the Matrix.
We never know. I kind of think that it's possible that he's in another world than Dolores is in. For all we know, Dolores is in another simulation, because they actually hinted at this in episode 1 where these two people are having a conversation, and he's like, yo man, I have this idea that what if we're in the simulation too?
Yeah. I thought that was them making it so obvious that it just couldn't be true. That was them debunking it in my mind.
But it'd be very clever and actually subvert our expectations in a good way if they were actually giving us hints here. And
this is future world.
And I think there is a very good, you know the way they did the Inception type of thing in the world, in the simulation, in War World, where Maeve looks at all the people moving really slowly and she's like, oh, we move faster in here. It's kind of a reversed Inception. I wonder if they'll kind of play on that later on, that they put this seed in our minds. So it'll dawn on us later on that we'll look at a CCTV footage of something, or believe it's a CCTV footage, say in Sarek's office, and we'll see an outside world and everyone's moving really slowly. Yeah, and
Or
the
if
other
at
way
any
around.
point in the real world they use slow-mo as an artistic choice.
Yeah, and it'll kind of give us hints that, oh wait, something isn't right. Somebody's world isn't real. It's very clever. Like they do put really clever ideas into this show. It was a shame that season 2 was executed or focused so heavily on Dolores, who I want to know out there, anyone watching this, do you like the character of Dolores? Is she meant to be liked as a character? But the good thing about the world is it has so many colourful characters that it has the potential to be such a great show. Oh, sorry. In her meeting with Sarek tries to convince Maeve to fight on the side of the right for the future, to stop Dolores. And she tells him, I don't work for anyone, darling. And attempts to kill him. But Sarek subverts our expectations and survives and stops Maeve. And for once, Maeve and Dolores aren't able to just kill someone in a heartbeat.
Yeah. It's a bit ridiculous, though. He has a big red button and he's waiting to press it. He's like, go on, press. I'm going to wait for her to stab me, and then I'm going to press this button and teach her who's boss.
I'm just going to wind her up so I can say, oh, sorry, I might have been just a little bit rude, but I did want to establish who's in charge.
I wonder, did he leave her there like all night? Just stood there for like 3 days.
Yeah, no. I wonder if she's constantly thinking in real time the whole time as well. Like, oh, damn it. No, damn it.
I've got an itchy nose.
So anyway, for anyone out there who watched this review, think of it as evidence that the Hologrumps aren't always grumpy, that there is stuff that we do enjoy. And Westworld Season 3, Episode 2 was one of them. So, Colin, do you have interest in following this story and to keep reviewing it as we move forward?
Oh, of course. Once I start something, I always try to finish it.
Unless it's terrible, in which case we... Yeah.
Well, it depends. If it's so bad it's good, or if it's just really, 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 really bad, I might just quit on it. And with that thought, we're going to close it out there. So, if you like what you saw, if you enjoy what you see, remember to hit that subscribe button, like, and comment below if you have any opinions of the episode or any theories, especially with Westworld. If you have any theories, put them down below and we'll answer them. We'll think about them as well. We've been the Hologrumps. I've been Colin.
And I've been Liam.
And remember, existence is futile.